Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. I'm Eric Njoka. Time now for news making headlines across the world on Speed News. North Korea has announced that it has conducted submarine-launched cruise missile tests. The tests came a day before United States and South Korean militaries begin large-scale joint military drills that North Korea views as a rehearsal for invasion. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had earlier ordered his troops to be ready to repel its rivals' quote-unquote frantic war preparation moves. The joint drills between the United States and South Korea have begun and are said to be the biggest in 5 years. The drills, called Freedom Shield 23 or 23, will last for 10 to 11 days. Reactions have come from South Korea after North Korea submarine missile test. South Korean government has said that North Korea should realize that there is nothing they can earn from escalating tensions on the Korean peninsula. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff have said the military is on high alert and the country's intelligence agency is working with its U.S. counterparts to analyze the specifics of the launches. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and US President Joe Biden will have meetings later today in the United States to discuss key details of a new defense agreement that aims at countering China. United Kingdom, the United States and Australia announced the AUKUS or Australia, United Kingdom, United States plan in 2021 as part of efforts to counter China's growing military footprint in the Indo-Pacific region. The latest meeting in San Diego is expected to decide next steps for Australia to receive nuclear-powered submarines. A second U.S. bank has collapsed in a matter of few days after the Silicon Valley Bank. The New York Department of Financial Services has announced that it has taken possession of Signature Bank and appointed the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as a bank's receiver. The move comes 2 days after Silicon Valley Bank collapsed as depositors rushed to withdraw their funds. And according to the reports, at more than $110 billion in assets, Signature Bank is the third largest bank failure in U.S. history. At least 8 people have died after 2 fishing boats capsized off the coast of San Diego in California in an apparent migrant smuggling operation. San Diego emergency crew began a search after receiving an emergency call for a Spanish speaker about fishing boats in distress off the coast of Black Beach in San Diego. Officials have not confirmed the nationalities of the victims, however told that they were all adults. They say it is one of the worst smuggling tragedies in California. Officials further informed that hazardous weather conditions likely contributed to the incident. Battle of Bakhmut intensifies as both sides claim loss of hundreds of enemy troops. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russian forces have suffered more than 1,100 deaths in less than a week of battles near the eastern Ukrainian city. He also said that Russian forces sustained 1,500 sanitary losses and that soldiers are wounded badly enough to keep them out of further action. While Moscow has not specified exact number of casualties, both sides admitted to suffering and inflicting significant losses in Bakhmut. Meanwhile, a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin and head of Russian mercenary group Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has said that the situation in Bakhmut is very tough. In an audio statement released by his press service, Prigozhin said that the closer his fighters get to the center of the city, the harder the fighting becomes and the more artillery and tanks target his soldiers. Prigozhin further explained that the members of the Russian army helped his troops with the ammunition. Wagner fighters have spearheaded the assault in eastern Ukraine for months, focusing their efforts on the small city of Bakhmut. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko arrived in Iran on Sunday, official visit to mark 30 years of diplomatic ties between the two countries. During his visit, Lukashenko is expected to meet Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi as well as Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The visit aims to strengthen ties between Belarus and Iran and enhance joint trade and investments. Iran Foreign Minister in a TV interview said that Iran and United States have reached an agreement to exchange prisoners. However, Washington has denied the claim as false. White House officials, however, say that the United States is committed to secure the release of Americans held in Iran. Iranian sources told news agency Reuters that two regional countries are involved in a series of indirect talks between Tehran and Washington for the release of the prisoners. For years, Tehran has sought the release of more than a dozen of Iranians held in the United States. After Israeli troops killed 3 Palestinian gunmen who attacked their post in West Bank city of Nablus, according to Israeli army, Palestinians held a day of mourning on Sunday. Mother of an 18-year-old gunman who was killed said that they only found about the killings on the news. According to Israeli army, a group of gunmen opened fire on a military post. The soldiers then fired back, which killed 3 gunmen, while one surrendered. The incident is the latest in a series of clashes between Israeli forces and Palestinians in the West Bank. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan visited tent cities and community leaders in Hatay province on Sunday, as the area is struck especially hard by the February 6th earthquake of magnitude 7.8. The earthquake left hundreds of thousands of people across 11 provinces sheltering in tents or temporary accommodation. The death toll from the quake has now risen to 47,975 in Turkey alone, including 6,278 foreigners. Both Erdogan and his government's response to the natural disaster has come under the spotlight, with critics accusing them of failing to prepare the earthquake-prone country for a disaster in waiting. Amid the ongoing nationwide protests against the pension reform bill, French government spokesperson has said that the government will not give up on the bill. 195 members of the upper house of the French parliament voted for the text, whose key measure is raising the retirement age by 2 years to 64, while 112 voted against. Now that the Senate has adopted the bill, it is likely to be reviewed by a joint committee of lower and upper house lawmakers on Wednesday. Meanwhile, protests and rolling strikes have affected refineries, public transport and garbage collections, aimed to pressure the government to withdraw the pension plan. An opposition lawmaker has accused the Moldovan president of trying to suppress peaceful anti-government demonstrations. The lawmaker told journalists that her party has collected 700,000 signatures demanding new elections, but said she was prevented by police from taking them to the government. The main opposition SOR party denounced the president for taking the side of Ukraine in the war, saying this increases the chance that Moldova could become embroiled in the conflict. Thousands of people protested on Sunday against safety deficiencies in Greece's railway network and to demand the punishment of those responsible for the deadliest accident in the country's history. On February 28, 57 people were killed when a freight train and a passenger train that had been mistakenly directed to the same truck collided head-on in central Greece. In Athens, more than 8,000 gathered outside the Greek parliament, according to the police. Exiled Tibetan women staged a protest in India's northern hill town as they marked their 64th uprising day. On March 12 in 1959, Tibetan women risked their lives and poured into the streets of Lhasa city and staged a peaceful resistance against Chinese forces. Protesters with flags and posters marched while calling for freedom of Tibet. Every year, the anniversary is commemorated by widespread protests across the globe, especially in Dharamsala. A fire broke out Sunday at a factory in the city of Daejeon in South Korea. Now, according to local media, 5 of the factory workers were taken to hospital for inhaling smoke. Authorities evacuated people residing in areas around the factory as strong winds strengthened the fire and caused smoke to spread in the surrounding neighborhood. Hundreds of people took to the streets of Mexico City to support Mexican soldiers who were imprisoned for crimes allegedly committed on security missions. Dressed in green, about 400 people marched in defense of soldiers. The protesters specifically called for the release of 4 soldiers detained for their alleged involvement in a massacre in a northern Mexican border city. A local human rights group alleged in February that the soldiers killed 5 unarmed young men driving to their homes in a pickup truck. Colombian National Police dispersed protesters and lifted roadblocks that disrupted movement and supplies of food and medicine to rural municipalities. Gold miners were protesting against the destruction of 9 dragons, which are floating machines that suck up silt and mud from rivers in search of alluvial gold. Government said machines were damaging the environment and endangering the lives of people living in the region. According to government ministers, up to 300,000 people have been impacted by the latest protests. At least 6 people have died in Peru over the past few days due to powerful cyclone YAKU. Cyclone battered hundreds of homes and caused major disruptions in northern areas of the Latin American country. Government has declared a state of emergency in the regions hit hard by the cyclone, including Lambayeque, Piura, and Tumbes. President Dina Boluarte visited the affected parts of northern Peru on Saturday. Cyclone Freddy battered central Mozambique after making landfall for a second time in a month. It has been breaking records for the duration and strength of tropical storms in the southern hemisphere. Communications and electricity supply in the storm area have been cut off due to reduce the extent of damage. At least 1 person was killed in Quelimane on Saturday. Now, according to United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, more than 500,000 are at risk of being affected in Mozambique this time. As Alps experience warmer temperatures and low snowfall, alternative activities that do not require snow are now being offered at French ski resort MORZINE. Activities range from skiing with eagles, paragliding, and being pulled by horses along a trail. And it has been an off-season for winter sports enthusiasts traveling to MORZINE this month. A fresh spell of snow is expected ahead in March. Thousands gathered to celebrate the Hindu festival of Rang Panchami in the central state of Madhya Pradesh in India. Rang Panchami is an extension of the Hindu festival of Holi, which signals the arrival of spring. People covered each other in colored water and powder in the cities of Bhopal and Ujjain. Revelers crowded the streets and danced with each other as they took part in processions and festivities. Hundreds of people marched in Karachi to demand equal rights for women. Marchers carrying placards and banners chanted calls for freedom. Marchers also danced and sang songs eulogizing the struggle of women's rights activists in the past. Women's March is being organized for the last 6 years in Karachi. A participant said the Women's March has evolved from being just about women's rights to making the society better. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.